1 week until kickoff. That means one more week until we start freaking out about everything, for the better or for worse. And then, we're going to lie to ourselves and name some things we won't freak out about, I guess. All right, let's go.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ultimate College Football Head Coach is a brand new mobile game that is completely free, has no ads, and is 100% playable offline. Use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege, CFB, all caps, inside the game store to receive a free boost to your program. Begin your coaching legacy today. Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, what a joyous time in the calendar. We are now within a week of kickoff. Our Spartans, the Owls of Boca Raton down there. Oh, man, I'm fired up. And next Friday, hey, I'll be fired up, overreacting to all sorts of things. Even though I'm a grown man in his 30s with 2 kids, I should be prioritizing other things in life on top of this, but we know how this goes. We'll be losing our minds next Friday. Here to join me, talking about all that sort of things, is Mike Jones, one of my favorite podcasts, if not my actually favorite. Let's just put that out there right now. Can't read, can't write. Mike, I'm excited to lock ourselves into the panic room right here and bring the people what we will freak out about in a good way, what we will freak out about in a bad way, and then in the third segment, lie to ourselves and say, we're not going to freak out about this if it happens. So, Mike, what a festive time of year. Are you ready? Is your body ready?
When you reached out, I grabbed the Xanax immediately.
Good.
Because I went to my darkest places of where I would feel great despair and great joy. And then I had to do some self-reflection, connected with my therapist, and said, These are the things you can feel like you shouldn't freak out about. So appearing here cost me a great deal of money, Matt.
That's fine.
Listeners, I sacrificed myself, my well-being. Very excited to chat.
Send me the invoice. All the home field and ultimate college football head coach money will just go funnel right to you. All that. So, look, we're gonna start out on the positive side. We're a sunny side podcast, right? Like, there are things you could freak out about in life for a good reason. Kenneth Walker's opening touchdown against Northwestern, that is a sterling example. So right now I have 2 things right in front of me because look, Florida Atlantic, they're fine. Hard stop there. They're fine. Like, you can get some positive things out of here, but I think the list of things you can freak out about in the wrong way will be a little longer. But let me just start with this because, like, it's trivia time. How many times last year did Michigan State score 14 points in the first half? How many games did they hit that number? Yeah.
Ooh, 2?
It's
Maybe?
3. It's 3. They did it 3 times. Good job, Jay Johnson. You did it. Sorry we chased you out of town, but yes, 3 times our Spartans scored at least 14 points in the first half. One of those games, of course, Richmond. So this is what we have here. I will freak out for a good reason if they just score 15 plus first half points. Like, just give us some sign that we have an offense that can do something crazy called move the ball downfield. And so far, that they go into the end zone with it. So, yeah, again, Florida Atlantic, it's not going to be the most formidable defense that you see, but I will be shotgunning at least one adult beverage should they score at least 15 points in the first half next Friday.
I know this isn't FAU related, but if we can look to week 2 and sort of along that point.
I like this.
Because FAU, right, how much can you glean from it? But I'll just say, because I have some FAU notes written down here, but I think sustained drives against Maryland.
Sure.
Like, give me a 15-plus play and a touchdown.
Oh.
Like,
oh. Shooting for the stars, my God.
Now we're cooking with gas. I'm with you on the scoring, and both of mine are sort of scoring or scoring adjacent. So I want red zone touchdowns.
Yes,
I don't know,
Mr. Greedy over there. Okay.
Yeah,
nice.
like, not only do I want touchdowns, but I want to see it executed from within 10 yards, right? Like,
love it.
And sort of, because that's a scheme thing. The other thing that's scheme related for me is explosives.
Okay.
Not just from a player. I expect Jack Velling will have a few this year,
sure.
Right? But if we can see multiple explosive plays from running backs, that bodes well for our offensive line. And then if you're just seeing explosives from varying receivers, that tells me more about the scheme and how it's going to actually translate through the remainder of the year, right? Like, so that's going to get me freaking out. Like, we've got a real offensive coordinator here who's going to really be able to generate offense for the rest of the season, right? Like that's what you're trying to do in this is project out.
Certainly. And like the next one on my list actually, falls right in line with offense and explosive players, not just the plays, but I just have like, if Nick Marsh like breathes, like it just literally anything he does next Friday, I don't care if it's just like catches an 8-yard slant, goes down immediately. So long as he looks like he belongs in college football. And he showed that at the spring showcase a few months ago. Look, we've been talking about it when it comes to Nick Marsh. Not only is he the top 150 ranked recruit, we think he's going to have a very special career here. There's something he immediately possesses on Michigan State in the receiver room that not a lot of other people do, and that is just his size. 6'3". There's only 2 other scholarship receivers that could say that they're at least 6'2". Antonio Gates Jr., Jalen Smith. So look, we think the world of Jerron Glover. Montori Foster, of course, could have a strong bounce back year. I mean, if Nick Marsh, catches one down the sideline or down the seam, wherever he catches it, if he just does anything next week that makes us believe that, oh yeah, this could be a special freshman year, not like even Charles Rogers special, but just, hey, can you catch 40 balls for us, 50 balls for us like that? Yeah, I will do a little bit of a lot of overreacting. Is that okay? That's probably.
I think so.
Right?
If we can stick on the receivers for a second, someone you didn't mention, Alante Brown.
Hey,
right?
Now,
like,
okay.
Dude who's, I think we stole this. We were talking about this on the pod. I think I stole this from Kirby and Austin.
Okay.
But Alante Brown has 0 career touchdowns. And 4-star recruit, right? Like, you see all of the tools, couldn't hold on to the ball particularly well. But, like, I want to see that guy used in a way that makes for I keep going back to this, right? I'm with you on Nick Marsh, but more than anything, I'm looking at this game as a sea change from Jay Johnson. Mm-hmm. And so being able to scheme a dude open, be able to utilize the personnel you have, yes, please. I just want to see competence, Matt. Why am I freaking out about competence?
We've been throwing that C word around a lot this offseason, competence. That's all that we really want to see. And like, there's a lot of listeners out there, and I'm kind of included in this, that thinks we're just competency away from making a bowl game. Just flatly that alone could get us to the promised land of like a bowl game in Jacksonville or the Surf Pro First Responders Bowl, something flashy like that. But nevertheless, just one more thing that I do have on the defensive side of the ball. It was a really, really tough year last year for linebacker pass coverage. That's been long storied. So look, if Wayne Matthews just even does as little as bat a ball down, just because that's the guy that they brought over to be a pass coverage guy. Like if it's, hey, keep the opposing tight end to under 40 yards, like, ooh, that'd be nice. But yeah, so long as he just makes a play in pass coverage, like, oh, we are so starved for any production from the linebackers and pass coverage that, I might just try a no-hand back spring right there in the family room. We'll see, though. We'll see how we're feeling when the time comes. Yep. Do you have any others that you will freak out about in a positive way 7 days from now?
I'm thinking about all the fool's gold we've seen over the, you know what I mean? Right? Like,
yeah.
And so it's hard for me. I think on the freaking out on the positives, it's just hard to pinpoint like a thing. So I'm gonna keep mine at like competent scheming. I'm just I like
low.
If we have like five sacks in the game, I'm not gonna freak out. We did that. We've done that before, and then got none in Big Ten play. So I have to be reserved here. I got to be reserved.
Hey, there we go. That is responsible. That's something that we're going to try to do here on the show.
That's what my therapist told me.
And the responsible talk is going to be in the third segment when we lie to each other and say, hey, these are things that we're not going to freak out about if they happen. But coming up next, okay, we're going to bring the mood down a little bit. We're going to talk about things that we will freak out about if we see next week, kind of for a bad reason. But first, I need to talk your ears off about, hey, one of my favorite new apps out there. It's Ultimate College Football Head Coach. Locked On Spartan fans, I want to take a moment to give you a heads up on a brand new mobile game that I think you're going to love as much as I do, Ultimate College Football Head Coach. In this amazing game and simulation, you get to step into the shoes of a head coach and lead your college football program to glory. Can you imagine actually being the head coach of your Michigan State Spartans? From recruiting players to hiring a coaching staff to overseeing training camps and handling school scholarships, you control control every crucial detail of your program. It is all in your hands. The only question is will you be able to handle the pressure? I sure hope so. I believe in you out there. Ultimate College Football Head Coach is completely free, has no ads, it is 100% playable offline. That means you can play as you go, as you want, and when you want to. And of course, we have a special offer for Locked On Spartans fans. Use promo code Locked On College CFB, all caps, all one word, Locked On CFB, inside the game store and receive a free boost to your program. Make sure to take advantage of this perk as it will get your team off to a strong start. To download this game, just visit ultimate-cfb.com or look it up in any of the app stores. It's Ultimate College Football Head Coach. Begin your coaching legacy today. Gang, Home Field Apparel is where it's at. Can't miss. Kickoff 2024 is still rolling strong. I love Home Field Apparel. I have loved Home Field Apparel because for a few reasons. I'll just get you two right now. The vintage logos are second to none. Right now, I'm rocking my 1979 National Championship shirt. And the second reason I love Home Field is, yeah, you're going to look stylish, but you are going to feel like you are embraced by a loving, warm angel the entire time you wear these clothes. These are the most comfortable articles of clothing I have in my closet. We're talking hoodies, sweatshirts, long sleeve t-shirts. They even got some new hats in the mix. So, you know what? Here's a bonus third reason you can love Home Field, because when you go to homefieldapparel.com, smash in promo code on Spartans, okay? That's all one word, on Spartans. That's going to save you 15% off on your first purchase at homefieldapparel.com. It's great vintage clothing. It's the most comfortable thing that you will wear on game days. And with promo code on Spartans, you will save 15% off at homefieldapparel.com. And before we drag him back out here, that is right, we're talking Mike Jones of Can't Read, Can't Write. Guys, hey, thanks a lot for making Locked On Spartans your first listen every single day. Go ahead, hop on over to Locked On College Football for your second listen. It's Locked On College Football, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. And probably can't, I'll edit this part out, but make Can't Read, Can't Write, part of your
third listen.
Yeah, sure. That'll be a strongly written letter from Mr. Locked On, but we will prevail. we will move forward after that. All right. So what are we going to freak out about next Friday? I'm just sitting there with a nice pint of something very nice in my glass. And if it happens, well, that glass is going right through the drywall and it's going to be a whole scene. Cops are going to be called. It's not going to be pretty. The first one I have, and this goes for every season, but especially after what we saw last year, it is a lack of offensive line push in the run game. And I know that the run game is a lot more nuanced than just, hey, the big guys pushing the other big guys. But for simplicity of conversation, let's just, use the word push of offensive line. Last year, it wasn't even that bad against Central Michigan. It was 4.1 yards per carry, but there was some numbers inside of those numbers that told the full story of that game. Like, yeah, the 31-yard run to start the game, that was fun. But then you got stuffed on 4th and 1 later that drive. That was a fun time. I was beside myself in Section 16, and that's why I'm not allowed to this year's opener this upcoming season. Throughout the rest of that game against Central Michigan, they just had 7 runs that went 5+ yards. It was kind of, yes, 4.1 yards per carry, but against a MAC team like that, it was kind of a slog. And I remember just sitting there being like, if this is what it looks like against a MAC team, which, by the way, ended the season, I think, the 3rd worst run defense in the MAC last year. This is going to be a long season in the run game. And spoiler alert, Mike Jones, in case anyone DVR'd every game and hasn't watched him yet from last year, it did not get better in the run game whatsoever. So, yes, if we see against the Florida Atlantic Owls that they are struggling to run the ball, that's going to be more than a short-term issue, I fear. Am I alone here, or are you going to hop on this bandwagon too?
No, I mean, that piggybacks. It's not my primary one, but it does piggyback on my next one, which is you brought up the 4th and 1, right? I would describe being bad at critical downs on either side of the ball because we've seen the inability to get a stop on 4th and short or 3rd and short or, frankly, 3rd and long for that matter, right? But yes, not being able to pick up a yard when all you need is a yard over 2 plays, Matt. 2 plays. I will it won't be a fun pod the next day. I'll say that.
If it is 4th and 1, the first 4th and 1, and they don't convert it, I will walk calmly out to the driveway. I will calmly douse my own car in gasoline. I will calmly strike a match, and I will just create bedlam in the neighborhood right there. To say I would be beside myself would be underselling it if they don't pick up the first 4th and 1. How many of those have we seen the last few years, Mike Jones? All right, I promise I'm not going to burst a vein here. On the other side of the ball here, I think this is also, something to be kind of worried about, borderline freak out, is if FAU runs the ball, with some conviction or some efficiency, if you will. They have a new stable of running backs, okay? Like all 3 of their guys are all new. They got a redshirt freshman that never played last year. They have a former walk-on from Florida State. The offensive line, well anchored by a preseason American Athletic Conference center. Okay, he's really good. 2 guys to his left and 2 guys to his right, all new guys, like largely unproven. One guy played 2 games last year, another played 10 last year. Their tackles, 2 Florida State transfers that it's not like they were the starters over there in Tallahassee.
Right.
Like they played very sparingly too. I know the front 7 has shown signs of strength in fall camp. We certainly believe in our linebackers. Like that is not the position group you got to worry about. But that defensive line, can you show that you can at least stop the run against not just a group of 5 school, but a group of 5 school that is replacing so much of their run game? So if they crank out 4.6 yards per carry, just to bark a number out there, like you're going to have a really, really hard time going to bed that night, I think. So it's both running sides of the ball for me right here for the freak out in the bad way, Mike.
Yeah, I have a one that I think is maybe, we know the curse of the Locked On Spartans. So everyone,
no, not here.
Take
Come
a
on.
moment.
No.
Take a moment to knock on wood. If there's even a single injury to the offensive line,
that's my next one. Yep. Okay. Okay. Yep.
Oh my God. It is. I am going to
cry.
Yeah, in the same way that, like, if you thought you were contending for a national championship and you lost a game and you're like, well, there's my season, right? Like,
sure.
That's how I would feel about an offensive tackle going down in this game. I will freak out in a bad way. If I can go to something that's a little less morbid, though, Matt.
Yeah, go. Yeah, please. Let's get off this train. Yeah,
we're very excited for Aiden Childs,
sure.
But we know he's a younger quarterback, and I'm going to be a little bit concerned. And this isn't necessarily all on Aiden; it could very well be on the offensive line. But if we start seeing a lot of happy feet against FAU, bailing out of the pocket way too early, that means, in my mind, either our offensive line is growing and needs to do better.
Yeah, that's a good word. Yeah.
Or Aiden Childs we're going to be seeing a season of development, right? Like, that doesn't mean the season's doomed, but like, we could, I think coming into the season, I'm feeling some optimism. Maybe we started out 4-0, who knows? But like, if you start seeing that, you got to kind of ask some questions about maybe we drop a few. I don't know.
Yeah, you know what? I actually slotted that into my things I won't panic about if he has a shaky game against Florida Atlantic. I know you like that, cutting against the grain here, and I swear I'm not protecting the prodigal son over here. Because look, I'll give it at least the full first month of the season, because I go back to our own past, Mike. I go back to Michigan State past 2013, newly minted starter Connor Cook. He looks
sure.
Yeah, of course, different style than Aiden Childs, wasn't a dual threat quarterback, but nevertheless, the first time being a full-time starter, a little shaky to start the season. So, I mean, it's not just that too. He is a young kid. Yes, he did show flashes at Oregon State last year, but the story is under 100 snaps, 30-some pass attempts. So, if it goes poorly against Florida Atlantic, as he's trying to get chemistry with a new crop of receivers, of course he has Jack Valley, which will probably be his favorite target early on in the season. At least I'm lying to myself and saying that I won't fully freak out if he just doesn't look okay at Florida Atlantic. Now, if we get to the Ohio State game, we're 2-2 and he's got a slash line of 5 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and a sub 60% for completion. Okay, I might look differently at November than I would have before the season, but I can't fault anyone for being a little nervous if it does get started slowly this upcoming season. So that's kind of where I'm cutting against the grain.
I think I'm more worried about I don't want him bailing out too soon.
That's fair. Totally.
And because he's so athletic, he's so gifted,
right,
that it's easy to, it's sort of like the Cohen car, right? Like it's easy to default to what you're good at.
Yeah,
and,
right.
And he can't take a season of getting beaten down play after play after play. So like, even if he's playing hero ball and it's amazing at against FAU, like to your point about Ohio State, right? That's why it concerns me. I'm with you, and it's a good cutting against me valid point. Like we should expect growth. He is 18, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we don't have a finished product, and that's a good thing. But like, I need him to play the season, Matt. I need him to play the full season. Otherwise, they're gonna have to call Tommy Schuster down from the Riv. Buddy, you're in.
The Catabus is waiting for you outside. You're going straight to Spartan Stadium. Get ready, Buster. So, no, that's all fair. It totally is, especially with the happy feet and everything, because like that could be one of many things, but the main two, just young quarterback tendencies or like distrust in the offensive line. It could be either one of those things coming up. So look, we got more things that we're not going to freak out about. We'll see if you have any more that you want to freak out about in a negative way too. But first, I hate to do this again. I got to send you to the bench because I got to talk to people's ears off about Gametime, my favorite ticketing app out there. I was on Gametime today, just checking out the prices for this game in 7 days at Spartan Stadium. Folks, the flash deals were second to none. Right behind the uprights, about 10 rows up. Found a pair of tickets, $76. And that is a true $76. Gametime is not one of these ticketing apps that, oh my God, this is great. $76 for a sold-out game in a great spot. Boop, bop, beep, 57 clicks later. What is this $65 fee on top of all this doing in my cart? No, they are upfront with you. It is no shenanigans with Gametime. You're going to get a picture of your seat before you buy them, so you get the full view of what you're signing up for. 2 taps, tickets sent straight to your phone. If you don't believe me, well, just go ahead and try it yourself and also save some money right off the bat. Use this discount, guys, for this upcoming game. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Gametime today. It's last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Now let's drag him back out here. It is Mike Jones of Can't Read, Can't Write. 1/3 of Can't Read, Can't Write. All 3 of you beautiful gentlemen do a fantastic job over there. And, just different than this podcast, you guys never freak out about anything ever. So, which is good. This is going to help for this segment of the conversation. No, come on. It's like NPR listening to you guys. All calming tones.
Really
very
selling
soothing the entire time. Never yelling.
Never yell about individuals.
No. Not that I can remember, at least. So anyway, unless you have another thing that you could freak out about next week, we could go right into things that we say we're not going to freak out about, and it could be bordering on like lying to ourselves here.
The only other one I had on not freaking out is that I will freak out. If we go sub 100 yards in rushing, I'm going to freak out.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'll just say just saying it now. Yeah, it's an offense that runs the ball 60% of the time. If we are sub 100 rushing yards against FAU, I'm going to lose my family show mind. And so, anyway, let's go to the healthy place.
Okay. I'm going to need everyone to work with me here. Okay. I'm going to say this in all caps right now off the top. I think Michigan State will win next Friday. Let me knock on wood, actually, while I say that again. I think Michigan State will win next Friday. Okay. This isn't me panicking, being like, oh, it's a coin toss game. No, they should win on Friday. Okay. But here's one thing that I'm not going to freak out about if it happens. As 11.5-point favorites, which that happens every week in college football, is if I'm going to use the L word here. So turn down your radio if you have children in the car, is if they lose next week. Okay, I don't want to see it. Sure, will I be mad in the moment? Of course I will, but you can't let it balloon into, oh my God, the season's toast, or oh my God, this Jonathan Smith thing is never going to work out, because let's also scroll back in our history. Michigan State, 2007 season under Mark D'Antonio, they had to grind out a win against Bowling Green very early in the year. If the ball bounces one of the other ways, they lose that game very early on. Let's go across the country here. Nick Saban, he lost to UL Monroe in his first season at Alabama. Things turned out okay over there. Coach O, he lost to Troy in his first season at LSU. Things worked out pretty okay over there. Auburn, even last year, they lost to New Mexico State in Hugh Freeze's first year. I think Hugh Freeze will have Auburn cooking here in a little bit. Now, course, losing these games, Mike, isn't a prerequisite for things to work. Like, you don't have to have this on your resume. But that's to show that in year one of a rebuild, which, in my opinion and a lot of others' opinion, make no mistake, that is what Michigan State is in, wonky things can happen. I know it will be very frustrating. I will be upset that Friday night, but you know what? 24-hour rule it. Hey, long-term vision ahead. Look, it's a new defensive scheme, new offense for most of this offense. Like, give them some time to get it cooking. I know I'm mostly lying to myself right now, but as I am as healthy of mind as I could possibly be before the season at this very moment, I'm telling myself, don't freak out about the long-term trajectory of this season and the program's success under Jonathan Smith should things go south next Friday. Am I an idiot? Because I know at least a few people are going to say that. I certainly am, and a lying coward for saying all that.
No. I think that's sound advice, and I hope most folks who are on board, you see what Jonathan Smith is doing, right? This is going to be very different than Mel Tucker. His timeline for winning is, I think he has urgency and meaningful desire to win, but like, it's just different, right? Mel Tucker sort of sold a win now culture, and Jonathan Smith seems to be selling a build now culture.
Sure.
It's how it all looks, right? Busted execution, I'm a little bit less worried about if it happens, right? But I'm going to go the exact opposite direction, Matt.
Let's go.
I'm not going to freak out about a great scoreboard. I'm not going to feel super happy because the scoreboard is not going to tell the full story. I want to jog everyone's memory and go back in time to when we played a little school called Akron, and we won 52-0. And I remember everyone being real hyped about it, and the pod we recorded was, it wasn't good. Like, and how do you look at a 52-0 and say that was bad? It was terrible. Couldn't get a third and one. Couldn't get a fourth and one.
Yeah,
like
right.
It was a terrible game. And of course, I think they had like 4.5, maybe 5.5 sacks in that game. But like, we didn't see one for the remainder of Big Ten season. It was
True.
So
deceiving.
Even if we go out and execute perfectly, or rather not perfectly, even if we have a high score against FAU, I am not taking that in and of itself to the bank. What the game is might be worth freaking out about. The score, though, not going to do it.
I like that. The context. That's a good callback, Phil, because I think DJ Irons was the name of Akron's quarterback. Like, he was moving the ball with success, and then I think he got injured in the first quarter. If that didn't happen, MSU probably still wins that game, but I think it's a sweatier afternoon at Spartan Stadium, should he not. But yeah,
DJ Irons went 9 for 13, 123 yards.
He looked like prime Donovan McNabb. It was concerning, to say the least.
Uncomfortable. Yeah.
Not great. Not great. Anything else that you are not going to freak out about? Because we already hit my child's thing. If you look shaky, just chalk it up to, okay, new season, new offense, every talking point that I hit, which, isn't just propaganda. It's actually truth, because we've seen it happen here in East Lansing. But anything else that you're at least telling yourself you won't freak out about?
Yeah, it feels like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth, but I'm not going to freak out about 120 yards on the ground. Like, because it's FAU, right? Like, we have some baseline expectations of what Michigan State can and should be. And again, this is an offense that runs the ball 60% of the time. Like, great, but I'm going to need to see a little bit more. This isn't FAU specific, Matt, but I asked co-host Kevin Greck before I came on, and he called out a great one, which is, do not freak out about the record after 8 games.
Okay. I like that a lot. Yeah.
Because I think a couple things we've talked about through the course of the show is, right, there's development happening. Guys are kind of getting in sync. People are finding roles. The staff is implementing a new system. And we know the middle of the season is going to be a nightmare.
Really tough.
You can look at those last 4 games, though, potentially with some optimism. Mm-hmm. So after 8 games, like, I think what's really cool is those last 4 games, you'll be able to evaluate the staff for their ability to hold a roster together, motivate them, and hopefully you'll see player progression, right? So, like, I think Greg, it wasn't specific, but Greg made a great call out. I think don't freak out about the record through 8 games.
I like that. And I also like what you brought up about the rushing thing. And I'm going to bring up a former Spartan here for this little anecdote. Kirk Gibson, while he was managing the Arizona Diamondbacks, his kid graduated from high school, and he wasn't going to fly out to see the high school graduation. A reporter asked why. Kirk Gibson looks at him. He's like, because that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to graduate high school. That's kind of with like the run game situation. If they get 120 yards, shout out to Aaron Henry. You don't applaud a fish for swimming. Like that should be the baseline expectation of what you should do against the Owls. Now, if you pop off for like 280 or something like that, okay, you got me. But yeah, it just anything outside of just an exceptional run game, that's just what you're supposed to do against a team like this. So it's no reward for doing good. And then, well, if you don't do well, again, the pint glass is going directly through the drywall. So stay tuned to see what that's going to be like here in 7 days.
Yeah, football players all the time talk about the standard is the standard, right? Like,
amen. Yep, you got it.
Like, I'm sorry for years that you've fallen well below the standard, but just because you flirt with it against FAU, I'm not going to give me some context. Give me some context. That's all I'm saying.
The program has reset, and so have just our expectations. Like, we're going to start coming back to normal. Like, we just expect you to play decent against FAU. That's it. Sure, things can get a little shaky, but as long as you come out with the win and, just show that you could run the ball and stop the run, hey, that's all that's going to happen. God, I cannot wait for this. Oh, I know. This is healthy. I need this healthy angst back in my life. This is great. Mike, anything you want to throw out here or plug before we let you go and enjoy the rest of your weekend here?
Matt was very kind in saying that he enjoys our show. You can follow us on Twitter at @Spartan_pod. We're also on YouTube at Spartan_pod, but can't read, can't write. If you like three idiots talking Michigan State football, occasionally bringing a nugget of wisdom and a few laughs with lots of beverages, give us a listen. So,
more than a few laughs. Come on, no, you guys are great. All right, and you know what? Speaking of great, so are all you listeners, all you viewers. Thank you all so much. Hope you have a great weekend. Enjoy week 0 coming up. Let's go, kicking off in Ireland because where else would a college season kick off? But guys, we will see you at the other end of this weekend. Take care of yourselves. Love you all. Go great.